We're no longer video virgins.
I feel like we're like a political podcast that took the whole election off.
Is that his locker plate? That's his locker plate, right? Welcome to Rogue Bows, a basketball podcast. We are officially on video. You get to see Pro's beautiful face. He got a haircut. I shaved my beard, obviously. So welcome, Pro. We're going Hollywood now, man.
Well, let's just open up for like a minute and talk about a couple of things. A, we can't give the Clippers shit about fucking load management. We've load managed for 3 months. And so I want to just get the listeners back to see what they missed while we've been gone. LeBron signed with the Heat and won a couple of championships. There's a little guard from Davidson that's been terrorizing the league. Adam Silver's taken over for David Stern. Rest in peace. And we landed on the fucking moon. So that's what's happened since the last time we came on. Then you had your little interview with Jock Lawndale, giving me like a day's notice. By the way, Pro, we got this. It's gonna be too late for you. Thanks.
No. That's. I'm dealing with an NBA player whose schedule changed 3 or 4 times, and then he said, "Oh no, now I'm there tomorrow." So not much I could do there. I plead the fifth.
Folks, we're reporting on his extension. It's not exactly you were telling me who really murdered JFK. It was the Jock Lawndale interview. We could have done that anytime during the summertime. Yet you give me like 2 days.
No, he was in studio, Pro. It was all about coming to studio. I got this beautiful studio behind me that was just freshly built. And Jock came on site. He was only in town for that day and a half with his wife, tight schedule. She's running him around to fashion shoots and, all this kind of stuff. So little salty about it. Built up salt during the off season, Pro, I see.
Absolutely. Actually, it was a good time to get a little bit of break in.
Looks like you got a nice little tan on the dome there. Did you go to the Bahamas, Mexico? Where'd you go?
Yeah, I went across the street and walking my kid to the fucking bus stop to school, but that's about it. Fun. Where'd you go, Bogues? Any travel plans?
Nah, no, didn't really do anything. Well, it was winter here, Pro. Way to know your geography. We're going into summer here. We're different to America. Our country doesn't revolve around yours, unfortunately. So we're opposite, and we're in a different time zone, shockingly. But no, I'll probably go to Europe at the end of the year, and catch some family up there. But
nice. And
then waiting to come to the US next year. But let's not bore anyone else. But we are in video, so thank you for everyone for supporting the podcast. Hopefully we'll get this rolling and YouTube doesn't demonetize us within the first month or two, Pro. So ease up on the swearing, all right?
Oh, okay. So the 7 people that are actually, watching us tonight will get a little offended. I apologize.
We might get to 77 by the end of the show. You never know. All right, let's get started. We will touch on our Eastern Conference and our Western Conference previews in the next 2 weeks. So we'll get deep into that. As Pro says, we have been away for 2 or 3 months. A lot has happened, so we're not going to go through all the free agency like we usually do. But there's been 2 big trades over the last couple of days. One we knew that was going to happen. We just didn't know where. And that one is Damian Lillard has gone to the Milwaukee Bucks. In that deal, the Blazers received Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Phoenix were the third team involved, Toumani Camara, a Bucks 29 first-round pick, and swap rights for a 28 and 30 picks. So huge deal there. Portland getting a really big. Obviously, Phoenix got Nurkic and Grayson Allen, and there was one more. Yeah, who was the third player in that deal?
Hold on. So Phoenix, who do they get? They got Nurkic. They got else did they get?
Grayson Allen and someone else.
Yeah, they got a young kid. He was on. Yeah, I'm really prepared today. Hold on.
That's all right. But anyway, I mean, it's.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's a good deal for all the teams involved. I really do. I think, Milwaukee, are they really trading? They're really trading defense for offense, right? That's what they're doing. I mean, Jrue Holiday is an elite defender. We know his offense can be hot and cold at times, but he's improved in that aspect. But can, probably not as confident throwing him the ball late in games as your go-to guy. But Dane is that guy you can throw too late, but you're losing a lot of defense and grunt on that end. So I really think that that's just a defense for offense trade. I don't know what your thoughts are. Does it get it over the hump? Who knows? But does it move the needle for Milwaukee? As far as getting a closer, it does. But you're losing a lot defensively. And Middleton coming off an injury now, your other guard spot, 2-3 spot, coming off an injury, not moving as well as he can once was. Now he's all of a sudden not going to be a high-end defender for him, or even an average defender, I don't think. And you got two guards now that aren't great defenders. So what are your thoughts from Milwaukee's point of view with that?
Yeah, Bogues, I think the star power, I think their assets outside of Giannis, they were sort of getting lower and lower as far as what you can get for him. I think obviously his comments, like typical NBA players later in the summer about where he's going to be in the future, I think that put a little pressure on them. And I think that they had to make a move. To be honest, if you broke down their roster with Holiday and Lopez and Middleton, and you're thinking about what you could actually get for them, you'd probably say, well, you might be able to get a pick or two or, a couple of players here and there, but you didn't really think about getting a star player like Dame Lillard. And yeah, you do trade off. You always lose something in a trade. You either lose your depth, you lose your youth, or you lose solid players in a lot of cases. Look, they lost a solid leader in Holiday and a defender and someone who's a little bit more point guard oriented, but you get a star, I think that whenever you could acquire somebody who's in the top 10, top 12 in the NBA, for a good guard and some depth, I think you got to go for it. And I think to really solidify Giannis staying there, I think it's a good move for them. It puts a little pressure on Middleton and Lopez to stay healthy, and then it puts a little more pressure on like Bobby Portis and their bench to sort of step up. But I think it's really good for Milwaukee. For about a 29-hour period, they were the favorites to win the championship until the deal got sent today with Boston and Portland. But I think it's really good for Milwaukee going forward.
And the names we forgot, Nasir Little and Keon Johnson, the Suns received them. No, I don't think they're going to make a huge difference, but I like to pick up Phoenix as well. Grayson Allen, I think, are great. I think Milwaukee could have somehow kept him, would have shored up their defense a little bit, but I like that move for Phoenix. Perimeter guy, 3-and-D guys, happy to play off the ball, especially with what Phoenix have. Nurkic, questionable. Does that work at the 5 for them? Probably decent, physical enough, can rebound. He's shooting the 3-ball a little bit, so that'll be interesting to see. And then obviously Portland have done pretty well with getting Aiden. So I think Portland's obviously in a rebuild. As soon as my notes for this were, where does Jrue Holiday end up? And then as we go live today, about 2 hours ago, which we'll get into now, Portland have moved Jrue Holiday to the Boston Celtics. Celtics are sending Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon in the deal, and a 2024 first-round pick via Golden State, and a 29 first-round pick is also headed to the Blazers. So that's huge for Boston. Like you said, I mean, Milwaukee's up there. I don't think it severely moves the needle that much for Milwaukee, because I think, like I said, they lose a lot of defense for a lot of offense. How's that all going to fit? I think in late games it's going to be a net positive, but over the course of a season and a tough playoff series, who knows? And then 24 hours later, Boston make that deal. They don't give up a whole lot. I mean, Brogdon all but disappeared from the playoff series last season and wasn't great for them in stretches, and was hurt as well. And Robert Williams obviously is replaceable. You can find another probably budget big that can roll and do kind of what he does. He's an elite rim protector, so you got to find that. But they've got Porzingis there. But I mean, with the acquisition of Porzingis and Jrue, they've had a fantastic offseason, and clearly the favorites, in my opinion, in the East.
Yeah, I'll touch on Phoenix in a minute, but for the Boston trade, it totally makes sense. I mean, Brogdon, injury issues. Obviously, they were going to throw him in a trade earlier for the Clippers, and he got reneged. They're going to have to deal him, obviously, and to see what they have to do and to get done. But I mean, starting 5-wise, with Holiday, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, and Horford, their front 5 is really tough. Now, they did trade out a lot of depth with Robert Williams, who's been injury riddled since he's been in the league. So it's not really it is a big loss as far as their defense, but how long is he going to stay healthy for? Brogdon, little health issue, plus he fell a little bit out of favor. So look, they made just like Phoenix did in the Lillard trade, or doing what they did before the Lillard trade. They needed depth. So, they traded away a lot of depth, to get Holiday. They lost out on Smart earlier for the Porzingis deal. I think it's really good. They get a defender, a point guard. They could sort of, run the show, veteran, trusted in your locker room, which is good. their bench needs a little bit of help, especially up front. But you could always find late bigs that are acquirable, that are are still on the market. Just guys that could to fill in some roles. They just got to stay healthy. Porzingis is the biggest issue, staying healthy. And last year again didn't really. I think he missed about 15 to 17 games. If he could stay healthy, they got a shot. Their bench is going to be tested, but again, I think they could develop over the course of the season. But I think it's a move you need to make, solidify that starting five. And I love the deal for Boston. I think it's really good.
Yeah, and replaces Smart, like you mentioned. When Boston made that deal, I thought, you're losing a lot of perimeter defense. I mean, Tatum's probably become above average, probably defender, a little bit above average. He's at least when he's locked in and buys in, he's better than he was 3 or 4 years ago. That was a knock that we both had on him, was at times he doesn't guard. Brown's consistently okay, but they lost Smart as their best ball stopper. So to bring Jrue in off that is huge. He has a player option the following season. There's talks that they might extend him and give him maybe a team friendly deal or a long term deal. That'll be interesting to see what they do there. But what are you hearing from that? Will they extend him or just let it play out to the player option? Is it player option for 30? Is it 38? 38, I think, for a player option, something like that. Or
yeah. So right now he's got a player option for 38.6 and 24-25. There was talk about him wanting to go to a title contender that he could sign long term for. I know they were a little bit cash strapped going into this sort of deal where they just re-signed Brown. They got Tatum. They got Tatum, Brown, big salaries. Obviously both max contracts. So, losing Williams, and I don't know what Brogdon's deal was. I don't know if he was expiring or not, but, without Williams didn't make a ton of money, but, I think that owners tend to, when you have a chance to win a championship, if not multiple, and you have this piece that could really help you, I think, they don't mind going to the tax as much. Now with the new rules that they signed in the CBA, it'll be interesting what they do with his deal, if it's going to be a cap-friendly deal going forward. But there is some talk about, trying to get something done long-term. I don't think anybody's in a rush. I think that they might talk about it. If I had a guess, they'd probably wait, they'll probably wait until next year to do something, but no one's really in a rush. He could opt out and they could re-sign him and whatnot. So there's no really it's going to get done tomorrow type deal, like when they acquired KG in that trade in 2008 where they extended him right away. I don't see something like that happening. They'll probably wait it out.
Do you think Robert Williams sticks in Portland? Is there a possibility some frustration sets in? They've got Aiden starting at the 5. They are similar kind of players. Obviously, Williams is not as offensively strong as Aiden, but they're very similar in kind of the way they play. They're not three-point shooting bigs. Everyone in the NBA loves to have a 5 that shoots threes at some point on their roster, whether it's a backup or smaller minutes. Do you think Williams becomes frustrated at some point playing? He's only going to play probably 15 a game, if that, considering the skill set of him and Aiden being very similar.
I think there will be some initial frustration, but I think this is a good deal for him. I mean, obviously not the team, going from Boston right on the brink of winning a championship to, going to Portland. But now, look, with his injury history, to me, if you're looking at it from an NBA player's perspective, he probably thinks he's a starter. He should do this, he should do that. But playing behind Ayton, obviously his minutes are going to go down. Last year he averaged about 23 and a half. I can't see that going up. It's probably going to go down, like you said, to about 15, 17. I think there'll be some frustration. But look, with players sitting out and resting and things like that, plus with his own injuries in the past, it doesn't have to have a lot of playing time to really rev up those, the chance for injury. I think just like any NBA player, there'll be some frustration. Maybe you can move them. Plus with Portland, look, I think that Portland did what they needed to do. They got Lillard out. I think Cronin did a great job not just bowing down to Miami and just dealing in Miami. I think that he did a great job holding out. He got 3 first-round picks, multiple pick swaps for Lillard. But now they could sort of say, okay, Henderson, Simons, and Ayton are our guys. They're probably going to deal Grant. You could probably get a first for Grant. You could probably get a first for Williams. So let's remember this deal keeps on moving, right? With the other players that they get. First it was Lillard. They dealt Lillard for what they got. They got Holiday in the trade. They dealt Holiday for a couple of additional picks with pick swaps and things. Now they could deal Williams. Williams is probably worth, at least a first round pick. So they could deal him. I think they'll keep him for a little bit. If frustration, comes in, there's a team that's going to give you a first for him. Maybe not unprotected, obviously, but you can get a little bit of a trade package going together if Williams becomes frustrated. I think it's good for him in the short term. Put up some numbers. They're going to be really bad. They're going to be really young. They're going to be throwing things out there. I think he gets some minutes, get some numbers. If they want to do something at a trade deadline, they can. But I don't think there's any rush to move Williams, but I could see that happen in the future.
Yeah, I just see it as Williams obviously was needed on that Boston roster. With Horford, he was kind of the guy coming in and protect the rim, but Aiden and him, I think, are very similar skill sets as far as paint playing bigs. They're not going to shoot much threes, and they protect the rim at a decent level, but they're going to be bad. Yeah,
I think Williams is a shot blocker, though. Like, Williams is a better shot blocker.
Yeah, than Aiden.
So
yeah, for sure.
He does
for sure.
give you something. Yeah.
For sure. But, I mean, Aiden's not he's more offensive-minded, but he's still okay defensively as a big, but he's not an elite. I think Robert Williams is an elite rim protector. But what I mean by similar is most teams these days have a 5 that's a rim protector and a rebounder, and then they have a 3-point shooting 5, right? Well, Portland don't really have that right now. They've got two kind of similar skill sets, not exactly the same, but similar. But they're going to be bad. They're going to be, they're not going to sneak up on anyone like they did a couple of seasons ago to start the season. They're going to be bad. They're going to be blooding guys. I mean, if they win 15 games, 15 or 20 games would be a win for them this coming season. All right, moving on. A bit of drama again. Kevin Porter Jr. Interested to hear your thoughts on where they go with this. But prosecutors say that Kevin Porter Jr. fractured girlfriend's neck in an attack. Domestic violence attack. So we both stand very similarly with domestic violence and no tolerance for it. There's been some issues in the past with numerous players, especially over the last couple of seasons, but this one, especially considering his track record of getting in trouble, not domestic violence related, but just locker room issues, being a bit of an idiot in the locker room, throwing soup, that whole deal, traded, fresh start. Now this comes up. I mean, is there a chance he gets a season?
I think anything under a multiple season ban at first, it will be a bad precedent to set if you're in the NBA, if you're running the league. I think protection of women, it's a huge thing that we like to talk about in other ways. I think for what happened, this wasn't a slap. This wasn't a drunken thing that they were out. It was a push or a shove. This was a very vicious attack. I know there's still an investigation probably, in the works, but
yeah, and we want to be quite clear. Like we obviously want, the law to run its course, and there is a innocent till proven guilty. But I mean, if what we're reading is not great. If he's guilty,
right? If everything that we're reading, yes, if everything's reading, what we're reading is 90% accurate, then he should, in my opinion, get a multiple year ban, possible lifetime ban from the league. Obviously, they're not going to go with that. But look, I mean, Bridges did something very similar to that last year. He's allowed to sign back in the league within a year. So you would probably say they're going to follow the same guideline. Although I don't think Bridges was he ever suspended by the league, or they just didn't give him a contract and they just let it run out. I didn't really read into.
I think he was suspended, deal, but he started the season though, didn't he? And then it happened during camp or after that, didn't it? I think it happened in the off season, and I don't think he played the whole year. He didn't. Yeah, he didn't.
Look, it's got to be at least a year. And I think if you're in that locker room, do you really want a guy like that in your locker room? Do you that did something like that to a significant other? I mean, and especially on a female end, it's really. To me, I got no respect for it. If somebody told me that they're going to give him life in prison, I wouldn't bat an eyelash, to be honest with you, for what he did. But I think it's got to be at least a year, if not multiple. Like, I wouldn't let him play anywhere, to be honest.
Well,
I'd make it a FIBA ban.
The year is one thing, but he could be getting some serious jail time on top of that year. So I think the fact that these are pretty serious charges pending, and I think the NBA might not even have to handle it because he might be in a jail cell. I think he's probably going to get some jail time considering how bad this looks. And he just signed. What did he just sign? He just signed a deal 2 seasons ago, correct? Where he signed a 4-year, $82.5 million contract.
Right now, So right now it's 15-8. I think it's team option, Bogues. No, it's non-guaranteed. So 15-8.
This
then
season.
He goes 17-1. Then he goes 18-4, and then 19-6 team option. So they got
the last
balls.
season.
I mean, they could,
wait, the last season's team option or the next 3 are team options?
No, well, at least from what I have, and you could check it if you want. I've got next year non-guaranteed.
Okay.
The year after that, non-guaranteed. And then there's probably roster bonuses if you're on the roster past a certain date. And then I believe that the last year, 19.6 is a team option.
Yeah, so he's basically just lit this season's money on fire, and he has really no insurance for the following season. So you can. I mean, Houston did the smart thing, knowing that he's an erratic, crazy guy, and they've protected themselves now. They can just walk away from it and wash their hands.
How about the balls on them though? He does that. I mean, obviously, if that happens, 29 other teams ain't gonna touch you. I don't think you could trade him to a team in Afghanistan for what he did, right? and they put it out there in the media that they're trying to get something for him frantically.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, "Are you serious?" Like, the guy's in the middle
Are you
of a domestic.
serious? Come on, man.
He might be going to jail next month, but hey, if you make us a good offer, we'll consider it.
That's like the Buffalo Bills back in '94, while OJ's fucking Broncos going down the road saying, "We still get his rights. We might try to get a running back or a backup for him. Anybody interested?" I mean, give me a fucking break. I mean, the guy literally beat his girl almost into a coma, and you're trying to trade the guy. It's just, what are you doing? Imagine the team that traded for him. Imagine what will be waiting for you the second after that trade's done. From groups and all
protesters.
that. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's an ugly part. It's an ugly part of pro sports. Ugly part of the NBA, especially. But I guess I don't feel sorry for anyone that does that. I think it's just disgusting behavior.
No.
Even you mentioned you didn't have a drink. Even if you had a drink, even if you it's the only excuse, I think, the only time you have an excuse is if you're getting your significant other is laying into you with punches and you. I mean, the most you do is a push away to protect yourself.
Weapon.
But or a weapon, but like just actually breaking a neck vertebrae in your girlfriend's. I mean, it's just. I don't mean to laugh, but it's just.
You're a professional athlete.
I mean, it's just crazy. Just we had meetings with you would have sat in some of these, the NBA security meetings that they come in and they talk to you about,
Oh, what a
but
joke.
basically, hey, don't hit your wife, don't hit your partner. But I remember it was actually somewhat decent advice. We had a former police officer come in and spoke to us and said, look, I always have a bag packed in my garage. And like the guys would laugh and giggle about it, but he said, I've always got a bag packed that's got overnight necessities. And if I think, my wife and I or my girlfriend and I are getting into it and I need to leave for a day or two, I grab that bag and I go. And I think that's good. That's actually sounds crazy, but it's good advice. Just leave the situation. If you think something hostile is going to happen, you just got to go get your breath. Sometimes your wife needs to do the same or your girlfriend, but yeah, there's no excuse for that. And I think I think he's going to be in some big trouble. And I think even if he, like you said, comes back after a year or two, he's going to be on a minimum deal. If that, a team might still not touch him because now he's building up a decent resume of bullshit that he's done, and this one's going to be a top line of it. So it's a shame because he's a talented player. Like when he's got it going, and he's obviously he's got a lot of bad habits. He's a young guy, but he's a pure scorer that can really go off in games. Should be in the NBA. Obviously his contract says that, but yeah, you're in some trouble. But moving on from that one, we then go to Kai Jones. And just a prime example of not hitting the live stream button if you're a young fella. For those not familiar, he's had a hell of an offseason. The first one was himself dancing, where people thought that he was high on drugs, did not look good. He came out and stomped that down and said, I wasn't high, blah, blah, blah. Then he's live streamed that he's basically better than everyone in the NBA, including former players and Shaq, and I'm better than them, I'm better than this. So then people started prodding him and baiting him into, what about your own teammates? Are you better than them, better than all them? I'm going to get it, if I got their minutes, blah, blah, blah. But you're just like, if you're a young kid coming up, college, high school, wherever you are, like the live stream stuff is death. Like there's no real net positive of if you're Kai Jones going on a live stream. Move by stealth. You're still finding yourself. You haven't solidified yourself as even a role player yet. It's like, just stay off the live stream, pro. I mean, what are you doing?
Folks, I mean, most of the young players that come in this league, they might last 4 years and they're out, 5 years they're out. I would say 40% of the first round don't get to their second contract. Look, just play basketball and do, like, try to at least build something that you do really well. And then when you're established, you got a couple of contracts under you, you want to start doing that stuff to a certain degree, fine. But when you're in a situation like his, like you said, just start trying to make the league and trying to stay in it, and then you do something stupid like that, it's just, most people just can't deal with that. Like, you're a professional athlete. It's your life, even though it's not that hard, it's hard enough. You're trying to build what you're doing, and then you could sort of, branch out a little bit. But when you're doing, like, what's the upside of doing stuff like
100%.
that? And
there's
then
no
you
upside.
then you add drugs to it, or I don't know what he was on. He was obviously on something.
Now,
I got an intel report from a reliable source that was talking to a scout, and that told me that, like, he told me this about a month ago, that, like, he had some erratic behavior for sure. He had some about a month ago. I forgot to tell you about this, but, like, that, that people in his team think he's completely insane. This wasn't something that happened, like, working out, just like people like dealing with him. They think he's a little nutty. And a lot of the scouts that I talk to around the league tell me the same thing about the guy. But this is just like the cherry on top. And yeah, so he's not, I don't know, man. It just ruins it, because once you start putting yourself out there like this, now people don't really want to touch you. Like, they'll be like, yeah, is this guy really serious? Like we talk about guys like Dwight Howard. Like, Dwight Howard's a little nutty, but the guy was like one of the best players in the league for a 5 or 6 year period. JaVale McGee, crazy, but yet he's figured some things out, for a small amount of time. But when you haven't really done anything and you're crazy, and then teams start saying, well, he's not that good and he's crazy. Well, you got to be one of those things. You got to be either really good and crazy, or, not crazy and just average player. You can't be an average player and crazy as hell. It's just not going to be good.
Well, how about this? So, two things. He's in 21-22, he averaged 1 point and 0.5 rebounds. Last season, he averaged 3.4 points and 2.7 rebounds, but they were really high on his summer league. He had a decent summer league, and they're like, maybe
he had a decent summer league.
He's starting to come into his own, and then this happens, and you do the live stream. But how's this from? Did you see the quote from his former college teammate, Greg Brown?
No.
So basically, I don't know why he'd say this, but he basically said, UT teammate, current Hornets big, Kai Jones. Kai's always been like that. People have just never seen the real Kai. Kai's really just showing real Kai right now. So his own teammate from college probably thought that was a good. Yeah. I don't know how he thought that was a good thing to say. So he says he's checked in on him and that he's doing great, but not the most glowing comment. That, yeah, man, the real Kai's starting to come out now. He's always been like that. You're like, ooh, not good whatsoever.
There's enough head coaches in this league that don't like young players. We've all been around him, right? This just gives you ammunition not to play the guy. And
or have him on your roster.
Everybody in this, 98% of the league's replaceable. And some players will last a lot longer than others. And he's just given a reason not to. It's just dumb. It's dumb. Guys who average 5 and 5 will make $100 million in their career. 5 and 5. So all you got to do is just hang in there, and you're going to make money in this league. The average salary when I got in the league in 2003, the mid-level was at like $5 million. Now it's at like $10 million. An average salary of $10 million, and you're just pissing it away because you want to go live and be high or whatever you were. It's stupid, and it is what it is, man. Just move on to the next guy. Yeah, we'll see him in China. And
to your point earlier, and this isn't the right mentality neither, but the old school mentality was get your money first and then act a fool, right?
Yeah.
So like guys with attitude problems
Yeah.
in the locker room, there wasn't so much, going on live, Instagram live or, getting in trouble, getting in fights, obviously getting into it with your girlfriend like Porter Jr. did. But it was the old veterans used to tell the younger guys that they could see you had attitude problems, might want to get into it with a coach, might get into it with teammates, might be pissed about touches, just like, hey man, get your money and then do all that, which is kind of the wrong attitude as well, because then like you should just be like, don't be a dickhead, period. But the older guys would see younger guys that had a lot of potential and pull them in and say, hey man, just chill out, like put the hard work in for 3 or 4 years, you'll get a contract, and then whatever happens, right? Even that's gone. Like even a lot of these veterans can't even talk to some of the younger guys.
You don't have guys.
Yeah. There's not many veterans left that care, because those younger guys are, it's a push or pull thing. Like some of the younger guys are a bit arrogant coming into the league. Like, you come into the league like Hi Jones, and you're in your 3rd year, you've averaged 3 and 2, and you're shitting on your teammates saying you're better than them, shitting on Hall of Famers saying, oh, I'm better than them, I just haven't got the opportunity. That's going on, like Pro always says, that's going on, there's confidence and there's delusion. That's like going all the way to delusion, where you're just like, like you need someone to tell you, whoa, like that's a Hall of Famer you're talking about, right? So that's, wait to get your money, and then if you go off the rails, you go off your rails. At least you've got an insurance policy.
Bogues, this league is hard enough. Like you can get drafted, have a great attitude, and then you go to a team that there's 3 guys in front of you at your position. You don't get minutes. You go in the D League, you do your thing. You're always early. You say the right things, but you never get a chance to show anybody you're any good. And then you got to move to another team and another team, and then you just don't. You start getting a little older. You don't get that spot, and then you end up getting flushed out of the league. So the league's hard enough if you're just an average player anyway. But now you have a chance to, like, you're going off a good summer league. You got your thing. Don't give them a reason. Like, give it a reason where, like, you just didn't have enough time. There was too many players on the roster, and then you just got flushed out of that team. Make it that situation. But when you're just an idiot, like, look, we just talked about Porter Jr., same thing. $80 million on the table. All you have to do is show up. The guy puts up numbers. Like, don't do dumb shit that's going to get you out of the league. That's tough for me to understand. I have almost no compassion for players who do that stuff and get out of the league that way. It's just dumb. Like you said, there's no veterans left anyway. There's no real veterans that are going to talk to guys. That's not where we are anymore in society and the NBA about veterans like taking people under their wing. There are very few that do that. Even the good vets just sort of keep to themselves. So it is what it is, man. Konnichiwa when I see you in China or Japan or wherever that's from. So good luck, and
Ni hao is China. Yeah, he's
ni hao.
And it sucks because in 20 years it'll be like I coulda, woulda, shoulda, and I was this, but I got screwed, and like no, like you screwed yourself. Arenas Olajuwon was a trending thing the last couple of weeks. I enjoy Gilbert Arenas' podcast at times. Look, I don't agree with a lot of some things he says and some things he doesn't, but the guy has an opinion. He's actually fun and entertaining. He will talk. I mean, these comments around Olajuwon, I think, were serious but also tongue in cheek. But for those that weren't familiar, everyone knows Hakeem Olajuwon has his off-season workouts where many guys go and do footwork and all that kind of stuff. And one of the best bigs footwork-wise that's ever played the game. A lot of creative stuff, up and unders and all that. But quote from Arenas: "Nobody wants the Hakeem Olajuwon skyhook. Nobody wants none of that. You should be ashamed of yourself charging these young whippersnappers $50,000. When you came in the league in 1984, you wasn't even making $50,000 a game. You're trying to make your money back through the youth. Do not charge these boys $50,000 for that bullshit. He ain't been good since the 90s. That means all the moves from the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s, he doesn't know. Who are you going to do the moves on? Wembanyama?" So, tongue in cheek a little bit, but what's your opinion, Pro? Does he have a point? Is Hakeem fleecing guys out of a bit of funds?
We talked about this a couple of times on the show throughout the years, Bogues. Here's what I think, and it's I'll talk to you about both sides of of this argument. As far as if you're Giannis, if you're a business owner and you have a chance to meet Gary Vaynerchuk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban, and he says, "Hey, it's 50 grand, and you've got the like you're making $30 million a year, and you had to spend a week with these people, and they say 50 grand." You're gonna do it. You should do it, right? If you're Giannis, if you're an elite player that needs to work. And look, I agree. Like, you're not gonna do all that post stuff in today's game. It's a little bit different. But to spend time with one of the best players ever, for a week and talk to him and work on some simple things. Giannis needs work just like anybody else. I don't mind it for a guy like him. Kobe, LeBron, Giannis, guys like that. Even if you're going to use half of it, you could spend time, you can talk to him, you could ask him advice, you could say, "Hey, when you were dealing with this, I'm dealing with this issue. What did you do when you were playing?" And then maybe even some simple things. Like, his game is very elbow ISO oriented. They get him in the post a lot. He faces up, he could play. Like, I don't mind that because you're an elite player, you're making the money. It's not that bad. First of all, on his financial deal with Olajuwon's a multimillionaire from he owns about half of Houston real estate wise, I heard. So I don't think he really needs the 50 grand. But his time's worth is what it is. What I have a problem with, when I was in Dallas and we had JaVale McGee, and JaVale McGee spent, I think it was 25 grand at the time. I don't know how it went up to 50, but he spent the money to go with Olajuwon. And Olajuwon was teaching him what he teaches everybody else. That's where I have a problem with. You're going to spend 25, 50 grand, whatever you're going to spend. And a guy that you need to limit what he does with the ball and with his footwork. You're going to teach him the dream shake when he's got no business doing it. That's when I got a problem with it. But from that end, I just think that Giannis spending 50 grand to spend it with one of the best players of all time for a week, not an hour, for a week or 4 days or whatever he was, I think that is definitely beneficial for him. I think it was a little humorous, but I think he went a little overboard with it. I don't think it's a big deal. Now, if you're at the end of the bench, our guy Landale wants to spend 50 grand, the stuff that he would teach Chalk really wouldn't benefit him if he's going to be teaching him dream shakes and stuff. But to spend time with one of the best players of all time, and look, NBA players, 50 grand a week with Olajuwon would be the 9,421st stupidest thing an NBA player collectively will spend their money on. They spend a lot more money to get a lot less in their world than to spend it with Hakeem Olajuwon for a week. I think some of it is a little outdated, but even if you taught him footwork, jab, one simple move that he can use to get him better, and then he could ask him a million questions, I don't mind that at all. I think that's justified. It's just what Olajuwon teaches. He teaches every player the same, and that's where I think that ex-players that were really good, that teach and coach, the problem is they try to teach every player like they're them instead of being like, wait a minute, this player is very simple. We need to keep it basic with this guy. This guy could really be advanced. I can go with that. But it's the same thing for everybody. That's where I think you don't get it. But, Giannis is making plenty of money, and to spend time with him, I think it's beneficial. What do you think, Bogues?
No, I think it's definitely aimed more towards the elite upper echelon superstars that can get the most out of it, right? Like you said, if you're a role player or if you're a middle tier player, number one, can you, if you're a low end rookie, can you afford it? I'm hoping he gives them a bit of a discount, or maybe you can latch on to to Giannis's workout. Maybe I'll pay the 10 and Giannis pays the 50. I don't know, but I think it's definitely aimed more towards the superstar players that can better. Maybe it gives Giannis an extra 2% to his game, and Giannis is starting to shoot that little fadeaway now. He's starting to be confident in the mid range when he gets his back to the basket. So I think there will be some stuff that he can definitely use and take from him. But yeah, to your point, like JaVale McGee, no, you're a rim runner, you're a rebounder, you're a lob guy. No one's throwing JaVale McGee the ball to post up. It's kind of like late in my career. Like my post ups will start in my career, late in my career. If I'm going to go see Hakeem and then go back to the Warriors and be like, Steph, throw it down to the post. Like, I'm an idiot. I just lit 50 grand on fire, right? So I think you're right. I think you're definitely right.
He needs to spend 50 grand to see Mark Price in the offseason. He doesn't need 50 grand to spend it on Olajuwon.
Fair point. Yeah.
The guy needs to make free throws. Pay that guy 50 grand. I'd pay him 500 grand because the guy cannot shoot free throws, and he cannot shoot. And he does it over a series, but he doesn't do it over a course of a season. He needs to be able to shoot the ball. But again, spending it $50,000 to see Olajuwon, come on, man. I mean, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but the guy needs a shooting coach. He doesn't need Olajuwon. Although, again, spending on Olajuwon, great, but he needs to be able to shoot the ball. That I think is his biggest problem, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, some will agree with Gilbert, some won't, but that's his opinion on it. And I mean, I don't think Hakeem's running camps all summer. I think he does one or two guys in off season. Usually, they get a lot of publicity from it, and good luck to him.
And also, we worked with Gilbert at the end of his career. I think he told me once he spent about $200,000 on a Shark Tank in Washington D.C. So I don't think he should be the president of worrying about where people spend their money. To be honest with you,
definitely not.
I love Gilbert. I love Gilbert though.
I think he's good value. I think he's very, very fun. Yeah. I remember he threatened. I got into it with him and into it with Gilbert when he was in Washington. I was in Milwaukee. We got into it on the court. And
really, I
don't know what happened, but he threatened to break my nose on the court, and I was like, okay, let's go. And then fast forward to like February, it was the All-Star game was in Vegas, and I was in the rookie sophomore game, so I passed by him in the hallway, and he was like, oh no, I was just joking, man. I didn't even say anything to him. We just kind of crossed paths. I was just messing with you, right? And I'm just like. Cause I was like ready. I was ready. Like 3 months later, I was like, I was walking by and like, oh, this guy said he's gonna break.
Yeah.
So and nothing happened. So he just loves talking shit. He knows where he stands. He's not trying to fight anyone.
Bogues, I'll tell you what, he has one of the biggest work ethics and biggest gym rats I've ever seen. We had him in Grover's. He would come to the gym at midnight. He would come to the gym all day in the morning. I mean, the guy he reminded me of like Jamal Crawford. Jamal Crawford, he's going to play till he's 50, in men's leagues and stuff. This guy is all about playing and all about working. He's nutty on one end. Like, he likes to run his mouth, but like, I love Gilbert. I think that, first of all, he's one of those Arizona guys. They're all crazy.
Oh, man.
Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye, him. They're all nuts. And I love him. But he does work his ass off. That's one thing I can never. We brought him in when I was in Boston for a pre-draft workout. And I think he like messed his ankle up, but he still wanted to get shots up. I mean, but like when we had him with Grover, he was coming over microfracture surgery. I mean, first of all, he talks a mile a minute. He will talk shit till the cows come home, and but he puts his work in. So
he's good value. I enjoy.
I remember you hit me up about it. Yeah, you hit me up about him, and like last week or 2 weeks ago when he said it, and I thought I watched it. I thought it was pretty funny.
No, it was. He's good value, but I recommend his podcast. They're good fun. They talk a lot of shit and have fun with stuff. Final thing before we get into international stuff. Did you see Jabari Parker's comments? Now some of this is probably spilt milk because he's out of the NBA, but he's hit a lot of things on the head. RE the NBA. I'll just read through these for you. I'm not sure where he said this, but it was posted on socials a couple of days ago.
I did see it.
It was referring to the way the NBA is going and the trajectory that it's going and how he's out of the league and all that kind of stuff. Analytics made teams play to patterns. Veterans got pushed out of the league. Only stars can take mid-range jumpers. Post-play got eliminated. League went too young. Rules softer than ever. Scoring is very inflated. Non-3-point shooters take threes. Games are too up and down. Defensive players are often disabled. Hard to keep up night to night. Only 4 to 6 real contenders every season. Owner's power versus star power. No teams have a core for 3 to 4 years. Way too much player movement. Individualization of the game. Free agency trades too hyped. Most analysis, gossip, or debates. I don't think you got one wrong, bro. I don't know what your thoughts are, but it's pretty. I know people say it's spilt milk because he's not in the league, but I can't disagree with anything he said.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is true. A lot of it's true. It's interesting. Players like him, Okafor, Al Jefferson, Roy Hibbert, those guys that were stars at one point, it just changed for him overnight. And Jabari look, when he was and we worked with him because he's a Chicago kid, and he was a star, man. When Milwaukee, what he was doing there, and like all of a sudden it just changed for him. But all that stuff, the analytics side is huge in the NBA. it dictates most of what you're going to do. The post-up player, totally agree. The league going young, no doubt about it. Player movement, whatever. That's just sort of what the league's getting pushed with because of the fact that, it's a tidal wave where it starts with elite young players that want to get out of their teams and get out of their deals, and it forces teams to trade when they're younger and then move all these players, and it just starts a tidal wave of moves. I totally agree with that. Free agency and trades are way too hyped. Way too hyped. Like, there's not a lot I disagree with. I don't think there's anything really that I totally disagree with that. It's just the veterans getting pushed out of the league. I think certain veterans get pushed out of the league that can't, like a Jabari Parker who can't really stretch the floor, has to ISO all the time, not a shooter, and just sort of, back to the basket or face up bigs that can only really play on the block or the mid post. Maybe those guys get pushed out early, but
Well, we've seen a lot of teams, there's a lot of teams that have gone. They'll rather, I think when I first came to the league in the early 2000s, there was an emphasis on our 12, 13 needs to be some vet min guys. Like I had Irvin Johnson and Tony Kukoc as my 12 and 13, and they were there to help myself and then TJ Ford and the younger guys, right? I think he's right. I think that it's flipped now where it's like teams are emphasizing that 10 to 15 now on your roster is young guys. It's two-way guys. It's, guys with potential that are 19, that are raw. It's those kind of guys. So, and then going back to the start of our podcast and we're talking about Porter Jr. and Kai Jones, is it any shock that this shit's kind of happening in locker rooms, right? Like you got a lot of young guys, a lot of ego, a lot of testosterone, and then you've got a 10, 11, 12 guy thinking he's better than the starting point guard. And whereas I think it's sometimes good to have two guys that are veterans. Hey, you're not going to play a whole lot. They're not going to cause problems. They're going to push the young fellas and keep them honest, but they're not going to be like, I'm 34, I need to take Melo Ball's minutes, right? So I think there is a point to that, and we see it with the behavior of some of these locker rooms, right? I think you could work wonders with having just a couple of veterans. You don't see that anymore. You maybe have one, and if you only have one and you've got 11 young shitheads, like they're tuning you out. But if you have two or three with the blessing of the coach, they can, one of them obviously is going to play some minutes for you as a vet min guy. I think it's needed, and I think that's probably more to his point. I think it's definitely gone too young from that aspect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally needed. I think on every team to have two or three guys that are veterans that, that could definitely lead by example. It's just not where the league is anymore. Yeah. And yeah, maybe you are right. I do definitely agree with the only stars could take mid-range shots, because I would have talks with, a lot of analytical people. And my thing is, don't be a hypocrite. If you think that the mid-range shot is bad for the league, then nobody should be taking them, right? I don't believe that. Obviously, I'm a big mid-range fan. If the shot is open, especially how the defense is playing you. But then I would talk and I said, well, what about Kevin Durant? He goes, well, he's Kevin Durant. I'm like, no. It's either good for the league or it's not good for the league, and good for the game or not good for the game. So, I do agree with that. Like star players, shot selection a little bit different, but
yeah, and the difference is Kevin Durant will take your analytics title and shove it up your own ass, and you'll be fired if you go and criticize him. But if it's the 12th man taking the midi, you can get on him a little bit more because you got a bit more push with your analytics department. That's the difference. The star player is going to tell you to go fuck yourself at the end of the day. Like I'm open, I'm taking this shot. So there is some hypocrisy in it, and they're not. If you're going to stand by it the whole way. But it's going to cost you your job.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I agree with that, Bogues. I definitely agree with it. And, it's happening in a lot of sports, too. I have a good friend that does a podcast for the NFL. He's very smart. He's worked for a bunch of teams. And he always, they'll go over the games from that week. And he'll talk about, analytics told this coach to do this, and they're not doing it. It's happening in multiple sports where it's just sort of everything's around analytics. And look, I think analytics it makes the game better in some ways, but a lot of ways it just makes you do things you don't really have to do. I think a lot of the originality is out of the game. You know,
100%.
when I started paying attention to the league, you had all these teams that played different ways based on the coach. This team ran the triangle. This team ran the 1-4 high. This team was a pick and roll team. This team was a press you all over the court, 3-point shooting team. You know, like there was a lot of originality that went on. I just don't see that originality. Like I've been doing this big video project, probably watching 7-8 hours a day of film, and everybody runs the same stuff. Everybody does the same thing. I think maybe Golden State is a little bit different, where they'll do a lot of stuff out of split action and go to the post and run that flare screen or whatever for the guy who passed it, or get somebody else going, you know, but it's just 5 out, you know, into a pick and roll, and, you know, it just, everybody does the same thing. Every coach says the same, you know, space, pace, blah, blah, blah. Everybody does the same stuff. It's just, it's interesting. I've known Jabari. He's a good dude. He works hard. He's a good guy. He doesn't really say a lot of crazy stuff. I think that most of the stuff, if not all, he was pretty spot on about, for sure. And look, it's a little spilt milk stuff. It's a little, you know, you're a little locked onto it because you're not in the NBA anymore. And, you know, look, #1 pick, McDonald's All-American, everything's geared towards you making hundreds of millions of dollars and being a superstar, and you're on the outside looking in. It does probably do something to you as far as being a little bitter about it. But I'll tell you what, a lot of other players in his spot would be saying just crazy stuff, that just a conspiracy theory stuff. That's not conspiracy theory. That's most of that stuff, if not all, is pretty spot on about the league. It doesn't make the league bad, Bogues. It just makes it, you know, you got to ask some questions of why some of the stuff is happening. You know, I understand you'll get a lot of defense over the analytic stuff. 3's worth more than 2, and, you know, things like that. And you got to get young players, and it's got to be young. It's got to be young. You know.
I mean, I agree. Yeah, I agree totally. I think the game, the fun part of the games, you know, in the NBA at least, the regular season, it's boring. Playoffs ramp up a little bit, but like you said, it's copycat league now. And the funnest part for me in the 90s and the 80s and even the 2000s was like you said, like, you know, and we were probably the last. It's probably Golden State Warriors' fault to an extent, but I was part of one of those last playoff series, I think, against Memphis Grizzlies, where it was like two complete opposite styles of basketball. Yeah. And that's what was fun about the series. It was like Zebo and Gasol, two slower bigs, Tony Allen on the perimeter. They're gonna physical hold, grab, and then it was like the young up and coming, free flowing Warriors. It was like two opposites colliding, and that's what made it great. It was like, which one's gonna win? And I still believe if Memphis win that series, does the league go as extreme in the trajectory of threes and open floor play as it does? Probably. I don't think it goes as extreme if Memphis win that. I think there's every potential that, you know, teams are like, oh, we need to get two big slow guys. That's just the way the league is. It's a copycat league. So I totally agree. I think that the fun of that is gone out of it. And our next segment will be touching on FIBA, which is exactly that. And I want to get into it in a second. But real quick, Dabble, the social betting experience where you can jump into the banner channels, connect with the Dabble community, and write a bet together. So follow Copy Bets and jump into the banter channel. Download the app, Dabble, all one word, at the App Store. Dabble socially and gamble responsibly. But yeah, Pro, moving on to FIBA, that is exactly what it was. You just mentioned before we went live that you watched a fair bit of it. I watched a fair bit of it. And we'll get into the results in a second. But that was the best thing. There were teams that you clearly could see could not give two shits about analytics. They were like, we're going to run our action. We've got counters and reads from our action, and if that happens to be a 8-foot pull-up jumper from the block, that's what it happens to be. If that happens to be a long three because it was open, we take it. And that was, besides probably the US and probably Canada to an extent, all the teams played that way, and it was a beautiful thing to watch in this tournament where it was still mano a mano. It was like, you know, coach from Latvia versus, you know, let's say this team X, and it's like they're running some, you know, misdirection stuff to get a layup. What a beautiful play. Then they ball movement into this, and then it just flows so much nicer where they'll run a set and then have a counter to it and then have a counter to that counter, and it's very heavy on ball movement and passing and taking the right shot. Whereas, the NBA product, when you compare it, and I said this, I've enjoyed watching NBL games in the regular season more than NBA because it's less games, it's 40 minutes, means a whole lot more. The skill level and the talent level obviously is not individually as high as an NBA team, but it's just it's a beautiful brand of basketball to me. There's still a lot of coaching involved. There's still a lot of nuances with quick hitter plays and timeout plays. The NBA is just like, all right, who's going to make more threes tonight? Who's going to run the most pick and rolls and get hot off their pick and rolls? And who's going to hit the free throw line most and draw, bait the most fouls out of the referees? It's pretty predictable for the most part. Whereas there's still a lot of unpredictability with the way the FIBA game goes. I don't even know if that's a word, unpredictability. I don't think it is. Unpredictableness, whatever it is, English scholars. But I really enjoyed that side of things from FIBA. I don't know what your thoughts were.
Yeah, Bogues, I mean, EuroLeague basketball, this is what makes it special, right? It's just, ball movement, post up, screening, playing hard, it's just a little bit, it's just a lot different. It's a lot of old school basketball. And as you know, with the FIBA side of it, it's a lot tougher, I think, especially in those European countries, to really adapt just to the analytical way to think of the game, where in the United States, we're a little bit more like susceptible to that, to go that way and that route to really change the fabric of the game that quickly. I think that it's just going to be really hard for, Spain, countries like Spain or Serbia or Lithuania, Slovenia to change the way they play. It's a gritty way to play. It's ball movement, it's screening, it's multiple actions. The coaches are mostly all old school guys. It's a beautiful game to watch, and that's why I agree. We've been saying it for a while. I much more enjoy watching EuroLeague than the NBA on, as far as the way the game's played and the style of play. Obviously, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than NBA playoffs, but the EuroLeague and especially the FIBA events, you really enjoy watching. It's just a lot of good basketball. It's a lot of winning type basketball that's played. It's fun to watch, even though the teams aren't as United States will always have collectively the best individual players. They won't, obviously the international side on top of the NBA is dominating, but the NBA is just too athletic. The United States is just too athletic, too big, too strong to not have great, really good players, individually. But the style of play since they're 10 years old versus the style of play of an international team since they're 10 years old, there's no comparison to the education that you're going to get as a basketball player. You might not be as physically gifted as a kid from the United States, but you're going to have better coaching. You're going to have more specific training that you really need. It's going to impact winning more than you're going to get in the United States. All coaches got to pass tests and go through some type of a process to really teach you and to coach you, where you don't get that in the United States. You could literally walk out of jail in six minutes and be an NBA trainer if you want to. You don't really get that on the international side. You get coaches that are educated, that have some type of a program plan, and then you're not playing as many games. You're really doing a lot of skill work from like 10 years old to 16 years old. Then you start playing, and then you get into your club. You go play for your national team if you're lucky enough. Just a better sort of brand of ball and just sort of where you grow up on.
Yeah, and the US is very isolation based. It's all about crossing someone over and breaking someone's ankles and dunking on someone, which is fine. I'm not knocking. That's the way the game is there, and it's much more less dribble, more ball movement, more sets based over in Europe, which is fun. That's why I like watching FIBA, because it's always fun to see how the US go with that system versus other systems. But moving on from that, Germany had a hell of a tournament. They ended up being in Australia's pool and obviously beat Australia early on. They go on to win their first gold medal I think it's their first gold medal in the FIBA tournament. So they were awesome. Schroeder was elite. They had a really good balanced team, and they just continued to get better as the tournament went on. Serbia going number 2, Canada 3, USA 4. Latvia, to me, surprise of the tournament. Had a few people tell me that they're going to do really well. They were awesome. I mean, they were one of the funnest teams to watch. I don't know if you caught many of their games, but they moved the ball. They ran some good shit. Their coach was up and in and very passionate, and they were just a fun team to watch. Lithuania 6, Slovenia 7, Italy 8. Spain not getting to the quarters was surprising because you always have Spain in there. Australia get to 10, and then we move on. But the teams that have qualified for the Olympics Pro, Germany, Serbia, Canada, USA, top 4, they're automatically qualified for Paris. Australia qualifies as the best finisher from the Oceania region, so we're a little bit blessed to be on this side of the world compared to Europe because they got, there's some good European teams that won't make the Olympics, so that makes 5. South Sudan make the Paris Olympics. Great for them. I mean, we've got a huge South Sudanese community here in Australia. They're very influential within grassroots basketball. There's a lot of young, long, athletic talent. It was really cool to see a few of those guys playing the NBL and have been raised up in Australia at different parts of their life. So to see them go through their journey where they've gone, Royal Ivy coaching them, done a fantastic job. They probably should have even made the quarters pro. They I feel like they bombed out. I think it was who was it against? Puerto Rico, I think it was, where they were up by 6 or 7 late and just like turnover, and then lost the game. They ended up going overtime and they lost the game. They could have been in that 8. They ended up finishing 17th. Sorry, not the quarters. They would have made the top 16, which would have been good. France, pro, they bombed. They looked awful. They were out in straight sets. They were in Latvia's pool and didn't get through. And then there's a few other nations below there. Japan also get through to the Paris Olympics. So that's, you got seven going into 12. You got 5 spots left, pro, for the likes of Latvia, Slovenia, Lithuania, Italy, Spain, Montenegro, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Dominican Republic, Greece, Georgia. Who else do we have here? France, obviously, sorry, you do get in, so that's 8 because they're the host nation. So 4 spots left for all those teams I just mentioned. Then Finland, New Zealand, and then the rest are probably a wash from making it. Amazing. And then also to note, I don't know if you saw this, but China, no Olympics, first time since the Yao Ming era, pro. So they are not going. They don't even get a chance to go to the qualifiers. They finished so poorly in the World Cup. They finished 29th. There was actually the Philippines, I think, took their spot to go to the qualifying tournament for the Olympics. The commentators from China were crying on air, pro. They were crying, literally, passionately sobbing because they're not going to Olympics, and it's the first time, I think, since Yao Ming was basically a rookie that they have not made an Olympic Games, which is crazy considering how much of a push China's put into basketball, how much money they're spending, how many clinics and camps and this and that they do, that they're huge on basketball. To not have them even a possibility for the Olympics is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I've been over to China probably about 10 times. I'm close to 10 times. And they do put a lot of money and effort into development. And, it is a little bit, especially with the amount of people that there are in the country and how much money they put into it and the investment they made. But it just goes to show, you got to look at what you're doing, probably look to make changes and figure something out. It's a tough pill to swallow, but now you got 4 years to try to get yourself back on track with developing your talent in your country. But it goes in waves sometimes, and it is pretty frustrating to watch. But what are you gonna do? They just got to get back to that drawing board and figure some stuff out. They got 4 years to do it, and you got to move on.
Japan, watch out for Japan, pro. They're coming up. They got a really good system. They're a really good system. The thing with China is they try to play like US style to an extent, and you just don't have the talent to play that style of play. You got to have some sort of intricate system. The Japanese, much like soccer, they're very system based. They're very methodical with what they do. They've got a good structure. Their system was shoot a lot of threes, obviously, but they've got some creative stuff. They're coming up, and they're investing a lot in basketball. Their league is doing very, very well on this side of the world. They've got a lot of talent that they're taking from over the US and Australia to go over there and import spots. I think they're going to be the one country in the Asian region that's going to be the outlier of the next decade. I think they're really investing a lot in basketball. They're really making a push. Their league's getting better. So I think China's going to have to hold on to those tiers because they're going to have a tough slog. And then Philippines, obviously, just not as talented, but they're a big basketball nation too, and they've finished above China. So I don't think it's going to get any better, pro, in the future. They're going to still have the money to spend, but they got to find their next Yao Ming. They got to hook up two parents that are 7 foot tall and find us a new Yao Ming. But interesting.
Man. Yeah, it is. I don't know where to go with it. Like you said, you can't play like the United States. You got to play different. You obviously, you got to teach kids how to play the right way. But they're a little bit different mentality of how they, the type of kid that's over there, as far as, the Japanese and, different, dealing with the different people from Asian countries. They're a little bit different. But like you said, you gotta find a way to sort of, Japan system, the Philippines, even Taiwan. Like Taiwanese is really small, so they'll do a bunch of defending all over the court, dribble kick, shooting threes. But it's unbelievable that the amount of money that they put into it, that they can't qualify. But hey, it is what it is, man. We just got to move on from it, I guess. Let's see what happens.
It is, and just touching on that, Australia's performance very underwhelming. Caught in the, in my opinion, the style of play we just talked about. Canada, USA played very similarly. In fact, if you watched the bronze medal game, it felt much more like an NBA game compared to the rest of the FIBA games. It was very pick and roll, ISO. Now they have the players to do that, SGA and Edwards on both, either team. But Australia tried to play that same style, and I think that's what got Australia in trouble. Not a lot of ball movement, a lot of pick and roll, ISO heavy stuff. When all else failed, it was kind of throw it to Paddy, and Paddy would go ISO mode. And some games worked, some games didn't. Defensively weren't as good as they'd been previously. I mean, Paddy's getting older, Joey's getting older, so just really underwhelming. It wasn't a fun style to watch. It was very predictable, and I just don't think Australia can do that. Look, we have NBA players, but we don't have the. I mean, Josh Giddey's obviously growing into an elite point guard in the NBA, but we don't have an SGA, we don't have an Edwards, we don't have a guy that you can throw it to. Paddy had that run in 21, but I think those days are gone. I have a guy that you're just going to throw it to and go ISO ball. So I think we needed much more off the ball movement, and a good mix. And look, at the end of the shot clock, if there's nothing, then you throw it to a guy for an ISO, so be it. But I just think Australia was too ISO heavy early in possessions. It was a very predictable way to play. And they're going to look to clean that up in the future, I think. I think even early as Paris, they're going to look to put in some sort of system that can benefit all players and have everyone involved. You talk about Matisse Thybulle not having a great tournament, but then if you watch the tape, within the system, he's stuck in the corners a lot. He's stuck in, running in transition, and then it's a pick and roll, and then he might not touch the ball for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trips, pro. And we both know how hard it is in the NBA, especially if you're not involved in offense, and then all of a sudden teams adjust and now they're blitzing Giddey or they're doubling Paddy and getting it out of their hands. All of a sudden it gets swing. Matisse, shit, we need to make this shot. We're down 3 in third quarter. We need to keep this game close. It's a hard shot to make. Josh Green the same, So I think an emphasis on some ball movement, getting it through hands, is something the Boomers need to look to do, because it was it's the worst performance the Australian Boomers have had. Since I think it's in the last decade now. I think 2014, and I think even 2014 they would have made the quarter. So finishing 9th has not happened for a long, long time. So it might even be before that. Might even be almost 20 years. I don't think the last time we finished out of the 8 has been a long, long time. So there is some work to do there. But I don't know if you caught many of the Australian games, but I'd love to get your thoughts on what you saw from the Boomers.
No, it's the same thing. Like you said, they just gotta, defensively. Obviously with Jock being out, I thought it was a little bit. They had a little bit tough time protecting the rim at times. I do think that the ball's got to. You just got to keep moving the ball. You don't have that, like you said. You don't have those players to go to. First of all, I thought Giddey was amazing in some of the plays that he could make. The vision, the ability to drive it, and the things that he can do with his vision and getting guys the ball where they need it and when they need it. I think he's a star in this league. I think he's one of the best point guards in the league. So obviously that's a great young talent to build upon. Paddy's getting up there in age. It seems like, I think that when you're assembling this roster, shooting's got to be a big a big deal because when they start doubling Giddy and sending multiple defenders, and he passes out of it and the ball moves, you got to be able to make shots consistently. I think in the development of Thibault as a player, I think that like you got to get him the ball in some other actions and have him do a little bit more. I think that could help. I don't think he's built to become a guy that you run everything through, but I think that he needs a little bit more offensive freedom.
Well, pro leading into the sorry to cut you off, but leading into the World Cup, I went and saw, albeit against okay competition, they had 3 friendlies here, Venezuela, Brazil, and South Sudan. The game I was at, he was 6 for 7 from 3 when he was involved. And look, he shot the ball much better in his Portland days when he got traded there from Philly. His numbers jump up to close to 40, I think, or 38. So he can shoot it, but you can tell that he's a flow involvement guy. Like he needs to be involved. Right. I think Josh Green's kind of the same. So that's where it hurts. And just touching on the Paddy and the Giddey thing, it was clear those 2 guys don't work well in the lineup together. They're both ball-heavy guys. That's not knocking either of them, but Paddy wants the ball in his hands. Giddey's the point guard. It just didn't work. It was super clunky, and so much so that you started to notice, which I thought they would go to, that one of those guys would get subbed out early in the game, and then they'd come back in the second quarter, towards the end of the first quarter for the other guy, because it's tough. The other thing I would say on Giddey is I would have liked to have seen some post-elbow action from Giddey, because I think, teams were doubling or messing with that pick and roll. With Giddey, he's at half court trying to make a play now, and it doesn't utilize. I mean, he's an elite passer, and he's 6'8", so you can actually post him and get him off the elbow, and then you're halfway there. You run some cuts off that. You have Paddy moving, splitting with Joe Ingles, 2 great shooters. That's what I would like to have seen a little bit more of, just getting some cheap baskets. But sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I mean, Matisse. His lead up games, he played very, very well, and they were World Cup teams. Venezuela was there, Brazil was there, and South Sudan. He played really, really well, and I was like, shit, that's huge. If he can just knock down 1 or 2 threes a game with his defense, that's a huge plus. And then the World Cup rolls around, and he was almost non-existent.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to go against what coach had him doing or whatever, but even like running some, pick and rolls with Giddey and Thibault, or even Paddy and Thibault forced to switch, roll him into the mid post, roll him in the elbow ISO, and he's got so much size and length to try to make a play. But Giddey's passing, in size though, I mean, he's going to be an elite post up guard if you let him.
Exactly.
He could probably do a lot what Gary Payton did in the post back in the day, just because of his size. And if you try to run multiple defenders at him, he's just going to pass out of it. But the shooting with him too, like that's got to be something. I know he's got Chip England, and Chip's one of the best that's ever done it with teaching, but he's got the free throw shooting. Like I said, I always say, look, 3-point shooting is a big part of the game, but as a shooter, you got to be able to make your free throws, because especially if you got a lead or you're trying to get back into a game and you get big, you get some things going as far as getting to the free throw line. They're going to send you to the line a ton. He's got to be able to consistently knock down free throws and consistently knock down shots. But look, you've got talent, but you don't have mega talent like you said earlier. So outside of like, the Giddey's, Thibaults of the world, like you got to have guys that could surround you with shooting and could make shots consistently, because when you start running double teams and blitz and pick and rolls and things like that, and the ball gets out of there and it swings, you got to have guys that can make a play. And like Josh Green, he's got to become a better shooter. Thibault's got to become a consistent shooter. Like, you're not going to have a chance against the United States and other teams if you can't do that. You have your stars to a certain degree. You got to be able to do that. Obviously, Jock's going to be healthy, so they'll give him a little bit of a, better, I think, a better rim protection, and better toughness inside and defense and basketball IQ. But what did you think about your second unit with shooting and things? They did. I read some articles about some guys that should have played more. Did you feel as though, obviously without second guessing what happened or rotations and things, but did you feel as though there were some guys that were sort of buried on that bench that could have helped them, with the perimeter game a little bit more? Or
yeah, Chris Golding is the one that comes to mind. He played a little bit in the leading games and then hurt himself and he got a really bad cork. started the lineup and didn't play much. And there were some games where he definitely could have been, worst case, you put him in the corner for some action. No one's going to leave him, right? So I think he was definitely a guy that could have played. Joe Ingles didn't have a great tournament. I mean, he's getting older. He's come off the ACL. He didn't shoot the ball well. Now the question for this program is, where's our shooters? Like that's going to be the biggest thing is as Paddy and Joey phase out, which they clearly already are slowly getting age. I mean, probably one more Olympics and then who knows. Where are your shooters? Where are the young kids coming up? Josh Green shot the ball reasonably well in the NBA previous season, but not as consistent with the Boomers. But you need some more feet set shooters, and there's not many coming up the pipeline right now. They can slide into the Boomers for 24. So that's a big one. But yeah, I think Chris definitely could have found some more minutes. Dyson Daniels was the other guy that didn't play, but he's not giving you shooting. Dante Exum was actually very good off the bench. He played very, very well, very good defensively. His games, you can see what the EuroLeague has done for his game. He's so much more patient. He just lets the game come to him, whereas in the NBA, his first stint was very erratic, trying to find his spot. He's grown immensely as a player. Cannot speak more highly of how he played. And the other elephant in the room, Pro, is Ben Simmons. Again, there was some comments again that he would consider playing for the Boomers or wants to play for the Boomers in Paris. Gideon Simmons, that doesn't fit. That's a hard fit. It's you got who's the point guard, who's not, and I think Ben will have to play a 4-5 spot on the Boomers to make this all work. Now, does he accept that role? I don't know, but if you've got Gideon Simmons in your starting roster, like you said. Giddy's getting better with his three-point shot, still not where it needs to be consistently. Ben's not going to shoot threes. You got two guys in FIBA ball that you can really muck the paint on, right? And they're going to pick on that. So that's the other thing. Everyone getting hyped up about Ben wanting to play. Great, we want him part of the national team. We need him to put his hand up and be part of it. But do you have enough shooting to facilitate those two guys being in the lineup together at the same time? I think they're going to split minutes a lot, in my opinion. But it will be, I think the program, the national team program is in a transition period, and it's at a really important time right now for the future of the program, what direction it goes. There are some younger guys coming through, but I said this from the start, you got to be real careful. You don't buy into we're a team of NBA players now, we're good. We don't need to do the extra stuff the Boomers did. We've got enough talent. We've always been a team that's overachieved because we've always had that chip on our shoulder and never been as talented. My concern was once we get that amount of talent where we are as talented as other national teams, do we take a foot off the pedal? And I'm not saying they did that the last tournament, but that's a concern that you got to have going forward when you've got big names in your team. Egos play a part, this plays a part, that plays a part, and you just want to make sure that doesn't happen. So a lot of work for the Australian national team, I think, bro.
Do you foresee any changes before 24 as far as a player that gets replaced, or what do you see?
I'm not sure. It's who's coming up in the pipeline. Look, I think Sydney Kings, I think Tui is a boomer. I just think Paris is probably a stretch. I think it's too soon. I think he'll be there probably for the next campaign. He's three streaky at the moment, but he's going to find that. He's got a nice stroke. He puts the time in. 6'8", long, gets on the rim, can play, basically 2, 3, 4. So I think he's one that's coming through the pipeline, but there's no surprises that are going to come through for 24, I don't believe, Pro. I think it's too soon. It's 10 months away. I think it's going to be a very similar squad. I think Reith was really good for the Boomers, by the way. I thought he was really, really good.
Yeah, he was.
He made some threes as well, so I thought he would have played a little bit more and they wouldn't have gone to the small ball, because I think the reason why you go for your small ball is to spread the floor and open up the lane and have 3-point shooters, but he was shooting it at early mid-40s throughout the tournament from three. Not a high volume. He'd make 1 or 2 a game, but I thought they could have kept him out there a little bit more, especially when we struggled to get some rebounds. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Obviously, same coaching staff, everything will remain the same. It'll just be a matter of what the tweaks are. Paddy not playing for basically the whole NBA season, I don't think was a good thing for him. I think he came into camp, his form was an issue early, got hot a little bit in games, but I think not playing for 6-7 months straight consistently in the NBA, then trying to be that volume, high shoot guy with your national team, it was a little bit clunky at times. And I think that's not a knock on him. It was just the unfortunate realities of the whole Brooklyn situation, part of the rotation. He's obviously now being traded. He's with Atlanta. So that's the other thing going into Paris. You hope that your Joe Ingles, your Patty Mills, Tease, Green, these guys are playing influential minutes for their team. You hope 2 or 3 of those key pieces get benched or don't play minutes or something doesn't go right. Then all of a sudden you're like, your main guys haven't had a lot of basketball the last 12 months. And I think that's what we saw from Patty and a little bit for Joey. You know, Joey came back off that injury, but, you know, he's finding his body and finding his form and strength and movement and quickness. And that's where I think it all struggled a little bit. So will be interesting. Let's move on real quick so we can wrap this up. NBL stuff, Pro, I don't know if you caught much of it, but we had the NBL Blitz on the Gold Coast, which was a huge success. I think it was the most successful NBL Blitz, which is the preseason tournament they've had. I believe Gold Coast is a potential expansion bid for the NBL. They're looking at potentially having a team launch here in the next couple of years. They usually do that. They host a tournament in a city that they're kind of eyeing for the next license, so that we'll watch that space. But 40-odd NBA scouts here, Pro. It's a great part of the world to be in. Gold Coast is similar to, you know, your Florida or your Miami, kind of that kind of vibe, beachy, really small kind of city. So 40 NBA scouts here out in the sun all day and then watching games at night. So that was kind of good to see. But our season did kick off this past weekend. Melbourne 2-0. Brisbane actually first on the ladder. So I don't know if that'll remain, but they should screenshot that because I don't know if it'll remain that way. But they're 1-0 based on percentage. So good to see them get a win. Perth hot and cold. They beat Tassie at home, and then get absolutely thumped by Southeast Melbourne 2 days later. New Zealand solid win versus Cairns. Kings versus Hawks was a streaky game. The Kings made 2 or 3 big runs, and just as soon as Illawarra got it within 7 or 8, we'd bang 2 or 3 threes and get it back out to double digits. I don't think the Sydney Kings played that well, but the 2 or 3 runs got them over the line against the Hawks. Adelaide started 0-2, not good there, so that's kind of the wrap. And my preview, I'm not going to go in depth, but for those listening, I'm going a very similar top 6 as last season. I'm going Melbourne United. This is in no particular order. My top 6 is Melbourne United, Sydney, Perth, New Zealand, Cairns, Tassie. It is the top 6 now, don't forget, because we have the playing games. That'll be my top 6, which leaves Southeast Melbourne, Brisbane, Illawarra, and Adelaide out. I think Adelaide are going to be dead last. I don't like the way their roster's put together and the way they're playing. There's been a lot of talk about they've got a next star in Flowers who hasn't started the season very well. A lot of these young guys are struggling. I think their best next star right now in the league, which is a potential lottery pick, is Saar out at Perth. He's playing very, very well. Long, athletic, 7-footer, long. Don't know if you know much about him. Shoots the 3-ball very, very well. So I think he'll be a potential lottery pick the season after. But that's where the NBL is at. Pro, and hey, Pro, you can actually watch it live now because it's actually going live into the US on ESPN. You just got to get up at 2 or 3 in the morning. So I'm sure that shouldn't be a problem for you.
Yeah, why not? Why not? All right. Well, hey, direct me to where to watch it.
ESPN, man. We're on the main ESPN.
Hey,
ESPN 1 or 2. It'll be live, but it'll be your morning hours. They just announced that it's all the games are going live. So there'll be a lot of potheads watching NBL games in the NBA. I know there was a lot of friends of mine that used to watch AFL games when I was in college. I used to watch that when I was in high school. Just like, okay. So you'll see a lot of that.
Did you watch Perth against the G League Ignite when they were in Vegas?
I didn't see those games, no, but they did pretty well, right? I mean, Saar played pretty well in those games, and 1-1, weren't they, against them? Yeah. 1 loss, 1 win.
Yeah. It was typical G League Ignite. One good game, one not so good game. So, but it was good. Those guys competed, and it was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, I think the NBL season is going to be super close. I don't think there's a standout right now. I think the Kings, everyone's picking them just because of the load of roster. I think there's going to be some growing pains for us. I think new coach, new system, still figuring things out. DJ Hoag's out probably till late October, early November with a shoulder injury. So one of our best players. We have the talent. It's a matter of just fitting it all together. So I think it'll be, we'll have some inconsistent games early on in the season. Hopefully trying to build to late season. That's all going well. Melbourne look just, I think, the most solid. I think they're just well put together. They've played well together. Daly is it's uber aggressive. Daly over here, Pro. He's pissed off by not making that Boomers squad to the World Cup. He's in unbelievable shape, ripped, like absolutely ripped, and he's clearly noted that he's being aggressive offensively. He's not the Delhi you saw in the NBA. I mean, he was 6 for 18 last game, similar numbers the game before that. So he's hoisting them up early in transition. He's shooting it. So I think his feel is, I need to be aggressive offensively. I want to get back in that Boomers squad. And they're 2-0 under that. You know, Delhi's still one of the best defenders in the league, on-ball defenders, gritty, but he's noticeably been super aggressive offensively.
You know, it's just interesting, man. Like, you know, when someone doesn't really get much of a consideration when they play in the NBA team, and not that he should have when he was playing, it's just tough at his age compared to what they had on their team in especially Sacramento. But then you go, you know, you play in a FIBA team and an Australian team, NBL, and you know, obviously you could still compete and you could do what you do, and you're a pro, you're in great shape, you got a high basketball IQ, and you know how to play. It's just interesting, you know, sort of what you can put on the court versus what you did in the NBA, and people just assume that you didn't get time in the NBA or an opportunity that, you know, you lost this, you don't really have it, and then you show them different. So it's pretty cool to see. He's always been a tough guy, a warrior. So you always sort of get behind guys like that.
Yeah, and great respect for him. I mentioned this on the pod earlier in the year, I think, or with the Jock Landale interview. I believe he had a deal with the Kings on the books. I think he had that vet min deal. Mike Brown loves him, veteran guy, but he said, I need to go somewhere and play minutes to give myself a chance for the 2024 Paris Olympics. So he's arguably left him, you know, vet min, $1.5 to $2 million for him probably with Sacramento, the NBA lifestyle. He said, I'm going to park that. I'm going to go back to Melbourne United. I'm going to play 30 a night, and I'm going to get in good form mentally and physically to try and make a final run. It'll be most guaranteed be his final Olympics with his age. I respect that a lot because he's backing himself. He's probably leaving money on the table. He's leaving the luxury of the NBA and all that kind of stuff because he knew he wasn't going to play. To say, you know what, I'm going to go to the NBA.
How old is he, Bogues?
I think he's 35 or 36. So yeah, if he gets to 2028, God bless him. But I highly doubt it. He's kind of on the outside of that squad already. But I think he can grind his way back, and I think they could use a bit of his leadership in that locker room just to try to get them back on track to where they should be as a national team. So interesting nonetheless. Finish off with some fact or fake news, bro. I've got 2 for you, actually. I'm going to start with these 2, the most obvious ones.
You know what, Bogues? You know what? Let's give it to you today. And I'll get back into
Pro forgot to do his homework, so he's
no easy question. I could have said that the Boston Celtics are clearly above the Milwaukee Bucks now in the championship. Why should we talk about that when we're going to be doing team reviews next week and analysis?
Because they both made the trade. It's a segue from the trade. All right. So the Bucks will win a championship with Damian Lillard.
Fact or fake news?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say fake news.
Okay.
I'm going to say fake news. I don't think they're deep enough. They do have a good team, don't get me wrong. But, you know, Middleton's got to stay healthy. Lopez, he's getting up there in age. You know, Lillard's been banged up a little bit. The shooting might be a little bit of an issue. Then you just never know with the, you know, it's so volatile as far as like everything working out. And then all of a sudden now I'm going to go, you know. So you just don't know. And the way Denver's built and some of these other teams, you don't know what's going to happen with some of these stars that could be on the move. It's hard to say, but I would just say no. Nothing against Dame Lillard or anything. I'm just going to say.
I'm going to go fake news as well.
No.
I think depth's a huge issue. I think they got a strong 7, so they got their starters and then Connaughton and Portis, and there's a huge drop off after that. So I think if they have an injury or 2 during the regular season, it could severely hamper their record. God forbid they get one in the playoffs. I just don't think they have enough depth right now, and I think that's an issue. And like I said at the start, I think they've traded away defense for some more offense. Will that work? I think it'll help in late game situations, but over the course of a tough playoff series, you know, Dame's got to guard at the other end as well. Then that's putting a lot of pressure on Giannis and Lopez. And don't forget, you know, Lopez was an elite rim protector. Lopez was, and Giannis, for the most part, they did a good job of keeping him out of foul trouble throughout this last regular season, right? That might not be the case this season because now it might be a bit of a, you know, the red handkerchief to the bull coming into the paint, right? Because Dame's not a great defender. Middleton's obviously a bit banged up with injuries, so I think they're going to see a lot more bodies flying in the paint that now Giannis and Lopez have to step up for. So watch that space as well. The next one, which is quite obvious, the Celtics will win a championship with Porzingis and Jrue Holiday. Fact or fake news?
I'm going to say fact, but I do think they're going to have Porzingis just hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his entire career. And I don't, but I just think that Tatum, Brown, they'll get a lot of mileage out of Holiday. I really do. I think that their front office is one of the best in the league. And just having those two guys under contract long-term with Brown and Tatum, and you could always sort of find other guys to fill that in. I just do think that they'll be in line to win a championship at some point. I don't think it's going to be this year, or I think Denver.
You're arguing with yourself, bro. You're arguing with yourself. You said fact, and now you're saying I don't think it'll be this year, man. Like you're sitting on the fence.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Did you say they're going to win a championship this year, or
no, I just said win a championship?
Those guys on
so you're saying beyond this season they'll win it? Okay, fair enough. So they won't win it this season.
Yeah, no. Will they win it this year?
Well, I'll go fact. I think they will. I think they will.
Fake news. No, you think Boston's going to win it this year?
I do. I do have question marks around Porzingis. I think the health, and I think then you're relying on Horford and Luke Cornett as your backup bigs. There's some question marks there. Do they go to market and find someone, a vet min big role maybe? I don't know. I don't even know if they can. If they have a roster spot. That is a concern. But I love the acquisition of Jrue Holiday on that squad. I think a great role-playing guard. And I just love what he's done, even with the national team in the Olympics a couple of years ago. When they brought him in late, I think he changed the whole dynamic of that squad when he came in. I feel, I think his wife was pregnant or sick, or he came in late to the Japan Olympics, and that all changed. So I love that acquisition. I think that Porzingis he's the one that puts him over the top, in my opinion. I think his health and his form, especially on the defensive end, is what's going to make them who they are. I mean, they don't need, and can he do that, bro? That's the thing. He's notorious. I wouldn't say powdered, but him and Luka didn't get along. There was that argument for touches at some point when they played together. He does want to be the man, but if he just gives them 15 and 10 a night, 12 and 10 a night, 2 or 3 block shots, just can space the floor to 3 when needed, open up the floor for Tatum and Brown, they'll be in a really good spot. But it does come down to health. And if I was them, I'd play him 20, 25 early on and just make sure he stays healthy and get him through the season, give him some rest nights, because I think he's not their best player, but I think for them to go to the championship and be competitive, he needs to be healthy and he needs to be in form. Otherwise, you're putting a lot into Al Horford, he's almost 38, 37, 38, 39 maybe, and then you're putting a lot into your backup in Cornett. So I'm just going to take a punt that this will put them over the top, bro, and they'll win a championship this season.
Yeah, I'll probably go and say that it's going to come out of the West, probably Denver. I don't know about Phoenix, but again, we'll talk about that in later shows. But I just don't think this year, for one reason or another, Porzingis' health. It's not his talent. His talent, he's a good player, and I think that early on in his career, especially based on the trade, to Dallas, I think that he probably, because Luka wasn't Luka yet, and they brought him in wanting him to be like that Dirk type player, and then it just sort of went south when Luka just sort of took obviously a quantum leap in his game, and then he just sort of got left out, and then the way they played analytically. Look, Porzingis is a good shooter, not a great one. He's a really good, I watched about 4 hours of film on him yesterday, and he's so good at the mid post. He's so good at, hot, like the elbow ISO. Obviously he could run the floor. Just defensively, when you get into him and all the banging, that's just not what he is. And he has a hard time with it. He's a decent defender. He's not a really great passer, but he's, like I said, really good. When you get him into his spots, he's good. The problem is, they have three other guys that are better than him on the offensive end. as far as what they can do. Probably 2 at least, right? Maybe not Holiday. But I don't think it's going to be an attitude thing. I just think it's like your expectation of him, where you're going to put him, having a package of plays that, can keep him interested. He just has to stay healthy. The problem is now with their bench being where it is, there's probably a little bit more pressure for him to play more, like more games and not rest as much. If you rest him 20 games a year and he plays 60 to 62, just mostly under concern, that he's just not going to get overwhelmed physically and get hurt, then that's okay. I just think the championship's going to come out of the West. I do like them. His health is, Bogues, when's the last time he was healthy where he could play although nobody plays 70 games anymore anyway, but like that's the thing. Can he stay healthy in a big role? I don't know.
That's why it's an outlier. There's a risk. There's a risk with picking him. I think the Jrue Holiday thing, I like them to probably find another big, Coley Stein, someone who can protect the rim a little bit and just play that role for 5 to 10 minutes, someone along those lines, JaVale McGee.
And they signed Wayne Gabriel today.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe that's the guy. That'll give him a bit of minutes off the bench. But you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the concern. Yeah. I think I would like to see them play without Porzingis for stretches. So I think the bonus is you're resting him during the season and playing less games so he stays healthy. But I think then you find what else you have in the case that he does get hurt in the middle of the playoffs and you're like, oh, we've played 25 games without him at the 5 anyway. We've done this, we've done that. This has worked. So I think that's important. And I think I'd like to see them do that. And if they're smart, they'll do that. They'll rest him certain. You can't rest him national TV games though, pro. That's the new Iron Fist rule for the NBA, right? You can't do that.
I got to read up on that rule, Bogues. Yeah, I got to read up on that rule, like who designates who your best players are, and national.
Who designates who designates what a back spasm is, like.
Yeah.
Want to arrest a guy for a national TV game? He's got a back spasm. You want to come diagnose it? Adam Silver, come on, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, look, just like any other rule, it's like a tax code, right? Like you're gonna find ways to 100%. Go around it.
You're not gonna come out and say, "Oh, we're resting him at the TV game, but he needs rest." We're just gonna say he's hurt or he's sick. He's got the stomach virus. Like, how are you gonna change it? It's just gonna be even more outright lies in the NBA than we've seen before. That's all it's gonna do. It's just gonna change the way you put your PR statements out there, right?
Without doubt.
All right, pro. One in the books. We're no longer video virgins, and we'll see how this goes. We'll see how producer Trent puts this all together and uploads it. Hopefully it looks good and get some feedback from our viewers. Hopefully you don't scare the kids that listen to our podcast, pro, now that we're on video. Yeah,
Bogues, hopefully our next episode is when Wembanyama's like in his 19th year in the league. So let's try to stay out of the. Yeah, I feel like we're like a political podcast that took the whole election off. So let's try to get into the summer next year.
It's off season, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I had shit to do. I was building the studio, man. I was doing it all myself, hard labor.
Yeah, you got to put a multi-million-dollar studio together.
That's right. But nice Rondo.
What if that's not a virtual background? What if that's a virtual background?
What if it isn't?
Really, it's just a fake studio.
No, it's a wall. You hear that?
Yeah, you like the Rondo thing?
I like the Rondo. Yeah. Surprising.
Well, when he got excommunicated from the team, they knew that I was like the only guy that liked him. So they put,
is that his locker plate?
Nameplate on my desk.
That's his locker plate, right?
Yeah, that's his locker plate. Yeah. So my wife hung it up for me. So
surprised you don't have it above your bed. But anyway, story for another day.
That's a story for another day, folks.
All right. See you next week, man.
Later, brother.